So on today's video, we are going to take a look at the 2020 season, but in particular, we're going to take a look at my predictions throughout the course of the 2020 season. This predictions video is going to start all the way back from when I made my preseason predictions week by week to see how I did. Also, we're going to take a look at how I was making my predictions on the weekly and compare the two and see how I did better. Of course, we're going to take first a look at who made the playoffs versus who I had projected to make the playoffs. So we're going to wrap that all up in this video. So sit back, hit that subscribe button for more daily NASCAR content, and we're going to hop right into this. In an insanely close finish, we started off with the Daytona 500. My preseason prediction, this is what's kind of weird about this. So in the Daytona 500, the week before it started, I had predicted Ryan Blaney to win. But after speed weeks going through and the success Denny Hamlin had and hype going into it, I took Denny Hamlin to win the race on race day. So my week-to-week predictions, Denny Hamlin won the race. I went 1 for 1 there. And by a close second place finish by Blaney, I literally, you can almost say, predicted the 1-2 finish that we had in the Daytona 500. Yeah, it was just a pretty solid start to the season. In an insanely close finish, we started off with the Daytona 500. My preseason prediction, this is what's kind of weird about this. So in the Daytona 500, the week before it started, I had predicted Ryan Blaney to win. But after speed weeks going through and the success Denny Hamlin had and hype going into it, I took Denny Hamlin to win the race on race day. So my week-to-week predictions, Denny Hamlin won the race. I went 1 for 1 there. And by a close second place finish by Blaney, I literally, you can almost say, predicted the 1-2 finish that we had in the Daytona 500. Yeah, it was just a pretty solid start to the season. Then we go out to the West Coast swing. Las Vegas, Auto Club, Phoenix. Second, third, and fourth races of the season. The predictions I made on my preseason predictions, I had Joey Logano winning at Vegas, which he did, so I'm 1 for 1 there. Then I did not predict the next two races correctly. I had Kyle Busch winning at Auto Club, and then Kevin Harvick winning at Phoenix. So neither one of those two races ended up going correctly with that, and I went 0 for 3 on the West Coast swing with my week-to-week predictions. So both the week-to-week predictions and the preseason predictions, I am 1 for 4 up to that point. So now we get to the next set of races. The next 4 races after the COVID pandemic were 2 at Darlington and 2 at Charlotte. Now for my preseason predictions, I went with the Richmond, Chicagoland, and Sonoma races taking over for the makeup races at Darlington and then the one makeup race at Charlotte. So I figured that way I would still have a 36 race schedule that I would have tried to get the predictions right from the preseason start of it. So with that being said, I only got one of them correct, and that was Denny Hamlin, and I did not predict on my preseason predictions the Coke 600 winner correctly. Hamlin winning the second Darlington race, I guess I would have had correct because he was my prediction in the preseason to win the first Richmond race. So I got one correct there. With the week-by-week predictions, I took Kevin Harvick the first race back at Darlington. He won that day, and I also took Chase Elliott in the second Charlotte race. He ended up winning that day. So far, up to this point, we are 7 races into the season. 2 races have been predicted correctly before the season started with the preseason predictions, and in the first 7 races, I predicted 3 on a week-to-week basis. Now, over the next set of races, it was pretty quiet for the most part, both on the preseason predictions and the week-by-week predictions in those 5-race stretch. I only got Atlanta correctly, and the 5 races were Atlanta, not in the same order, but Atlanta, Bristol, Homestead, Martinsville, and Talladega. And again, Atlanta, I took Kevin Harvick both on the preseason predictions and the week-by-week predictions, so those were the only ones I got correct over that stretch of races. So then, on the next 7 races, for the preseason predictions, I did not get any of them correct. And for the next 7 races after that point, For the weekly predictions, I got one correct. The only one I got correct in that stretch was Kevin Harvick winning the Brickyard 400. And those races over that 7-race stretch included the Pocono doubleheader, the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis, Kentucky, New Hampshire, and Kansas. And for the All-Star race, in Texas. And for the All-Star race, I didn't want to include that in here because it was only a week-to-week points paying race, so I didn't want to count that with it not being a points paying race. I did predict Kurt Busch to win that though, and Ryan Blaney to win on the week to week basis, but yes, I did not want to include those. I just figured I'd mention who I had picked in that stretch. So, still at 3 for the preseason total up to this point, the week by week total up to 5 as we are halfway through the season. Now we get into the best stretch of preseason prediction races that I had over the course of this entire season. I predicted 3 races correctly in a row with the Michigan doubleheader, and then the Watkins Glen, which was supposed to be Watkins Glen, then Daytona Road Course race, and I predicted all 3 of those correctly. I predicted that Harvick was going to sweep the doubleheader and predicted Chase Elliott was going to win on the Daytona Road Course. That happened. And the final 3 races of the regular season after that point, in the Dover doubleheader in Daytona, I did not get any of those correctly, but I did have Martin Truex Jr. winning both Dover races. He finished runner-up. So I had a 5-race stretch in which I had picked at least the runner-up, or at least my driver to win the race, ended up winning or finishing second place in a 5-race stretch in a row, including 3 of those getting correctly in a row. For the preseason predictions through those 6 races, I only got 2 of them correct. I took Chase Elliott to win at Watkins Glen, but because he won at the Daytona Road Course and that was replacing the race, I counted it, and I took Kevin Harvick to win the second Michigan race, which he ended up doing that day, winning the second race of the doubleheader. So, now we roll into the playoffs with the standings looking like this. 5 preseason prediction races correctly up to this point, and 8 week-by-week predictions correct on the winner of the races. So now into the playoffs and what the playoff field looked like in my prediction. We get into the playoffs. We'll go round by round, but first I wanted to throw out the drivers I had predicted to make the playoffs. Now, because there was obviously a driver swap in the 42 car this year, Kenseth filled in for Larson after that whole iRacing debacle there. You guys all know what that was. But anyway, I ended up swapping it out. So if Matt Kenseth would have made the playoffs, I would have made it as if I predicted it correctly because I would have had the 42 car. But because he didn't make the playoffs, I did not get that correctly. So of the 16 driver playoff field, the only drivers that I did not, or I should say that I picked that did not make the playoffs were Eric Jones, Kyle Larson / Matt Kenseth, Christopher Bell, and Chris Buescher. So those were the only 4 drivers I did not get correctly. Surprises there that you could say. I predicted William Byron to make the playoffs, and he did. Really, that was the only surprise for that round. And for the 3 races in that round, both on the preseason prediction and the weekly race-by-race predictions, I did not get any of those correct for the round of 16. Now, for the round of 12, the race predictions, I only predicted 1 race for each, the preseason prediction and the actual weekly predictions correct, and that was Chase Elliott winning at the Roval, which he did. Again, I predicted that for both the preseason prediction and the week-by-week prediction. And for the round of 16, I also want to mention that I predicted 2 drivers before the start of the season happened that would get eliminated in that round, Eric Almirola and, shockingly, Ryan Blaney. Now, for those of you that know, I'm a Ryan Blaney fan, so for me to predict that he was going to get eliminated in the round of 16, and for that to be correct is pretty insane, if I do agree and say so myself. But nonetheless, that is pretty much it. And for the drivers that got eliminated in the round of 12 that I would have predicted, I don't think I got any of them correct, to be quite honest. No, yeah, just double checking here. Yeah, did not correctly predict anybody getting eliminated in that round that would have already made the playoffs up to that point, I should say. Now into the final four races of the season. In the championship four and the round of 8 of the playoffs, I did not predict any of the races correctly on a week-to-week basis. I actually only had one driver of the championship four predicted correctly from the preseason predictions in one of those final four races. Coincidentally, I predicted Chase Elliott was going to win at Martinsville way back in February before the season started to punch his ticket to the championship four. That was the only driver of the championship four in my preseason predictions that I actually predicted correctly to make it to the championship four. And the fact that I predicted him to win that race is also something special. Going back and looking strictly at who I had winning the championship, race by race, weekly predictions before the season started, I think it was an all right season. I'm setting the bar, I wouldn't say low. It was a pretty solid season. It just seems like the races I did predict correctly seem to be races that were probably more unpredictable or harder to predict, especially in the outcome that I did it. But I think I did a pretty good job, to say the least, for doing it for the first time. I'm glad to do this again next year. Both at the championship as well once we get back into February, the week before the Daytona 500 once again. And as far as my preseason champion, I took Kyle Busch. Obviously, he didn't even make it to the round of 8, so that was not right. So did not predict the champion correct there, and on the week-to-week basis, I took Keselowski to win the championship the week of the Phoenix Championship race, and obviously that didn't happen either. Keselowski did not win the race nor the championship. So, the week-by-week predictions, I scored 9 of 36. That is a quarter of the races. That is pretty successful, I believe, to predict a quarter of the season correctly on a week-by-week basis. I'll try to top that next year as well. For the preseason predictions, I only predicted 7 of the 36 races correctly throughout the course of the season. Most notably, again, Chase Elliott making the championship four by winning at Martinsville. I predicted that to happen before the season started. Ryan Blaney missing out on the round of 12 in the playoffs, getting knocked out early. I predicted that correctly. The most notable one for the preseason predictions is the fact that I took, or the week-by-week predictions is the fact that I predicted correctly the Brickyard 400, the Daytona 500 correctly, and that stretch where I had 3 straight weeks or 3 straight races of predicting the correct winner, both in the Michigan doubleheader and then the Daytona road course. So thanks everybody for watching the video. If you made it to the end, again, hit the like button hit the subscribe button for more daily NASCAR content. Hit the like button down below if you enjoyed this video. We got more videos like this coming up in the future. Again, just wanted to recap the 2020 predictions that I made before the start of the season. Again, you can go back and look at that video to clarify that I was making this video with correct analysis.